Hey everybody, well, the return of a series that's too long in between episodes, I'm sure a lot of people think, and I agree with that. This is my first time spins series, and to give you an idea of how long it is between episodes, I mean, I've been making videos now for 5.5 years or more, and I have 600 and some odd videos, and this is only video number 11 of this particular series. So it just goes to show you. Well, this is when I listen to some records that I've got around here for the first time, and actually have some thoughts on the records. And if you can hold on a minute here, I'm not really prepared. Took some notes just in case I need to remember all of them, although I think I've got a pretty good idea. I had some time today, so I was able to listen to 5 records, and I did them kind of like while I was on the computer, so it's not really listening like glued to the turntable or with my headphones on with my eyes closed as a religious experience or anything. And here's what I think of these particular records. Okay, this is only on first listen. To start with, Tom Petty's Hypnotic Eye, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, from 2014. This was a big album. I think it hit #1, and I've finally gotten this album and finally got a chance to spin it. And I have to say, I enjoyed this record. I think this is really good Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It's some of the best stuff that I've heard from him. There's the rear cover of it. And I have some tracks that I enjoyed in particular that stood out to me. I mean, the whole thing was consistent to me all the way through. But the opening track, American Dream Plan B, was good. I liked Fault Lines was good. Full Grown Boy, which was more of a mellow track. That was pretty interesting. And let's see, what else do we got here? All You Can Carry. Pretty good. And side 2, Forgotten Man. You Get Me High. There's really not a track I disliked on this album all the way through. I thought it was pretty consistent overall, as I said. Very good, top-notch Petty. And, we got great guitar work here by Mike Campbell, of course. And, I would say the least track on here maybe was Shadow People for me. But this is nitpicking. Maybe I wasn't as wild about a song on side 1 called Power Drunk. But overall, it's a good listen. Now, the thing that gets me is, as I always say, I'll throw this in from time to time. This is why, I like Tom Petty. I like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And that's why I was interested in listening to this, and it had gotten such a great critical and fan acclaim that I was interested. But I'm sure I'll go back to this, but when? That's the whole thing, when. It was really good, but yet for some reason, this is how I feel with a lot of music from recent times. Is it anything that's really going to reverberate and really stand out as, oh, remember that album? Oh, that was a classic. You got to hear that again. Is this going to be right up there with stuff like Damn the Torpedoes or Full Moon Fever? Probably not. Times have changed, and I don't know. That's so much music today is good, but it's in here and out there when I hear it now. Now for A Horse of Another Color. I had listened to an album and reviewed it by one of the members of the Runaways. That's Joan Jett's first band, Cherie, Currie. And that album was called Beauty's Only Skin Deep, that I did one of the other first-time spins. And I got to tell you, this one I was urged to pick up, and I can't remember now. I apologize for not remembering who suggested it. I kept passing this up. I kept seeing it at flea markets. And this is like another album, this time by Cherie with her sister Marie, Cherie and Marie Currie, called Messin' with the Boys, which was released in 1980. And the person kept telling me, a couple of people told me, oh, this one's really good. You got to give it a chance. It's more commercial. It's more pop, da-da-da-da-da-da. Hey, look, nothing wrong with suggestions. I didn't like the first one that I heard, Beauty's Only Skin Deep, and I didn't like this one either. There was not one track on here I really cared for. And it was better than the last one, that's for sure. But what got me about it was that, when songs are written in the pop vein, and they can't think of any ideas except to keep repeating, like messing with the boys, messing with the boys, messing with the boys. Another track here, you know, I just love the feeling. I just love the feeling. I just love the feeling, and you keep repeating that because there's nowhere else to go. It's kind of like annoying, and that's the kind of pop this is. Now, the musicianship on here is very good. I thought. I like the song here. Well, I wouldn't say I liked the song. I didn't like it, but the guitars on some of them. I found out by looking at who plays on here that Steve Lukather is on here playing guitar. The musicianship is very good. I get the feeling from this album that they tried really, really hard to make a really good commercial solid pop album. And in doing research, I've seen that one of the songs made the top 200, I think, on here, or something like that, or was it top 100, number 95? I forget. But anyway, nobody knows it. It doesn't really matter. And they try really hard. The musicianship is good. The production's good. But there aren't any real good songs on here. I didn't find one good song. Now, an album like this I'd be happy to get rid of. But because it's in good shape, and I'm a collector of Joan Jett and the Runaways, I guess I'll keep this in the collection. Pretty nice cover. But I'm just holding on to this just to have it in the Runaways collection. And I should mention again, Cherie out there, you're a pretty girl, but I got to tell you, I don't care for your singing. That's just me. You know what I mean? I think Joan Jett was the real star of that band, the Runaways, followed by Lita Ford. So those are the two stars as far as I'm concerned in the Runaways, and it didn't do it for me. Okay, now we go to another female star here, Dusty Springfield. I talked about Dusty Springfield in one of my older first time spins videos. This is an American album called Ooh Wee. Basically, it's a compilation, I find out. Songs that are on her first UK album, which I did review. I think it's called A Girl Called Dusty. And it's in one of my earlier editions of this if you want to search back. I don't know which one now. She got some good stuff on here. There's a song called Here She Comes that I really liked. You Don't Own Me, the Leslie Gore hit. When the Love Light Starts Shining Through His Eyes, which was a Supremes hit, early Supremes song. But the thing about Dusty is, now in a case like this, I like her voice, and I like it enough that I can enjoy this album pretty much all the way through and listen to it in the background while I'm doing other things, and it's enjoyable, and I like the production. I like that kind of like 60s sound, so it's an enjoyable record. I'll play this again from time to time, but when? That's the question, I kept coming back to that theme over and over again. Yeah, I'm doing this video and I'm making these, and a lot of people want to see them, but the question is this where my heart really lies? I got to be honest with you, folks. I felt like it was a school project in a way, and that's what I can't stand. I felt like, gee, I got to get 5 albums listened to so I have enough so I can make a video of these. In the future, I'll try to listen to them over time comfortably rather than rush in 5 records. I just wanted to make a video. And it felt like a job, to tell you the truth, and it shouldn't be a job. Okay, now we go on to the Cars. This is Shake It Up, and I forget which album this is. If it's their 3rd or 4th album. Whatnot. Now, I like the Cars. I do like the Cars, and I'm a big fan of their album Candy-O. And that album Candy-O has songs on it that are not on the famous hits compilations all the time. There's a song from that called Got a Lot on My Head that I like, and there's a song on there called The Dangerous Type that I like very much. Now, on this one, all I knew going in were the first 2 tracks, Since You're Gone and Shake It Up. And I said, well, let's give this a listen. I picked this up cheap. What was it, like $3.99 one point? So I listened to it and had it in the background a lot. And I like the sound of the Cars. I like the vocalists, whether it's Benjamin Orr or Rick Ocasek, who's ever singing this on the vocals. I like the sound of the Cars. It had that 80s feeling. This album came out in 1981. Reminds me of a lot of good times, a lot of good Cars music, a lot of good club visiting and having a good time in the clubs and drinking and whatnot. So I actually like this as a kind of reminder of my youth. But there wasn't anything on here that blew me away. There's a song on here called Victim of Love that I thought was pretty good. But for the most part, It's just background music. And again, I couldn't help thinking to myself while I was listening to this, wouldn't I be just as happy listening to the hits compilation? And that's what happens, I mean, again, I keep talking about making a video someday, and I'll give it a teaser here, little promotion. One day I'm going to make it. It's going to be called The Beatles, or How the Beatles Spoiled Me. And the Beatles spoiled me because they've got everything is a keeper, pretty much. Even the songs that are not hits, or they're not great, are still good enough, decent keepers, So much filler on other albums, but something like this, yeah, I can enjoy it because I like the sound of it, I like the vocals of it, I like the techno sound of the early 80s, reminds me of the clubs. So yeah, I'll hang on to that. Now, I was getting a little depressed. This is the last album coming up that I'm going to show here. Not really depressed, but I guess I'm kind of puzzled by this whole thing. I mean, here I am wanting to make this video. Here I am trying to get into other music, but it did feel forced today. And I said, it makes me realize more and more how many of these albums, even the ones I've just shown that I think are okay, how many times am I going to play these again, Don't know. I said, I got to have something like kind of get me out of this funk. And I went with this. David Peel. An Evening with David Peel, actually. This is a live album. And it was recorded, let's see, at the Hotel Diplomat, Times Square, New York, January 1st, 1975, for the Swine New Year Spectacles. This was a New Year's album. And I know of David Peel, but again, how do I know of David Peel? From his association with John Lennon. Just to get the, I have some notes here, just to brush up on this. I didn't read most of the notes for this. Well, first let me read some of the songs titles here. This is a fun album. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this. It picked me right up. Crazy songs here like Hippie from New York City, Have a Marijuana, Santa Claus, Rooftop Junkie, Bring Back the Beatles, The Pope Smokes Dope, Who Stole JF Kennedy's Brain, Bawling in the Bathroom, and, well, that's the idea of it. Rock and Roll Ripoff, blah, 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 as the train. I'm recording this at rush hour, so you have to deal with train people traveling. But the whole thing was, this was a lot of fun. David Peel is a real character. He used to play with the Lower East Street Band. David Peel in the Lower East Street Band. And he played in Greenwich Village in the early 70s. And in 1971, John Lennon saw him at Washington Square Park. And it's amazing, the idea of John Lennon just walking around New York City. Anyway. He liked David Peel, and he became friends with him, and even produced some music by John. The Pope Smokes Dope, And if anybody's familiar with the song New York City, that John Lennon sings on his album, Sometime in New York City, you know that there's a song there that has, the title song New York City, has reference to David Peel and some of his song titles and lyrics here, So anyway, this is a crazy album, a lot of fun. It's hilarious, it's funny. I don't know if it's supposed to be funny. When you hear a guy singing, the Pope smokes dope, and and I'm a hippie from New York City, I live with the cockroaches, and I live with the garbage cans, or whatever he said. It's funny stuff. It just cracks me up, and it's just what I needed. But I got to say, David Peel, it runs a little thin after a while. I would say that a little of David Peel goes a long way. Because by the time I got to side 2, I was like just going through the motions. I had enough, kind of. But this was a lot of fun, especially today. And, breaking the mood that I was in, a somber mood I was in, kind of gave me a little pickup. So, David Peel, by the way, passed away this past April in 2017. He was 74 years old. And I'm friends with somebody on here who named Elliot, who knew David Peel. And I had an opportunity, not knowing he was going to pass away, to maybe meet David, and I almost did. And I regret that I didn't, because that would have been a lot of fun. And anyway, so, I'll pull that out once in a while. Before I go, I just want to say, I know there's going to be people out there, oh, sure, because John Lennon, right? You wouldn't even bother with David Peel if it didn't have something to do with John Lennon or the Beatles, right? Right. It doesn't matter how you learn stuff. Doesn't matter how you become interested in stuff. You know, if I thought it sucked, I'd tell you it sucks. I'm not going to just enjoy something just because it has a Beatles connection. Not everything connected with the Beatles do I like. Okay. So, anyway, that's it, folks. Thanks for watching.